Wholesalers, we got a special treat for you guys today. We've got a legend in the industry, John Curry, one of the top financial advisors in Florida. Amazing human being, amazing story. And John's been in the business for more than 45 years. John, you can clarify that. What's the exact number?
51.
51.
Yeah,
One of the
September
most
13th will be 51 years.
unreal, man. 51 years. I can't imagine the amount of knowledge in that brain. And, you're one of the most respected retirement planners in Florida, according to my good friend Vinny. You're known for your secure retirement expert brand, which I think is amazing. Brand is so important. You are a master of relationship-driven growth, how to consistently attract high-quality clients through referrals, introductions, and personal observation. John's also an author, speaker, and educator who built his reputation by adding value first, not just pitching product. I love that about you, John. You're always adding value. And you are an advisor who welcomes wholesalers as long as they show up as allies, not nuisances. So you're, in my opinion, you're kind of the perfect person to help teach wholesalers how top advisors actually think. So, with that said, John, can you give us a little bit of your backstory?
Well, I started in business in September 1975. At that time, it was just life insurance because you still had everybody divided. The mutual fund guy was over there, the stockbroker here, the insurance guy here, and that soon changed. It was in the process of changing. And back then, I had two products to sell, one whole life policy and one term policy. And I came to Tallahassee right out of the Air Force. I had planned to go to law school. I worked for 1 year at Borden's Dairy loading milk trucks and going to Tallahassee Community College. I planned to go to FSU, then law school. And I ended up not doing that. The vocational counselor at the community college said, John, you're a veteran. There's some aptitude tests. You should take these. Let's send them in and see what they say. So we came back. She said, John, based on your scores, you should be in sales. And I said, what? I'm not going to be in sales because I always thought I'd be a school teacher, a preacher, or a lawyer. So those are three things that I thought throughout my life that I would do from the time I was in high school on. I went in the Air Force in 1970 at 17. My dad signed for me to go in. And that was a great learning experience. To me, that was college. At every base I went to, I took a college course, and I'd also take a course in my career field, which was mechanics. I was an aircraft mechanic on the B-52 bomber, and later became a crew chief stationed in Thailand for a year, Okinawa 6 months, and then the rest of them were in the United States. So when I got to Tallahassee and Mrs. Blee walked me through that, I said, you know what? I think you might be right. And she said, John, you would be teaching, preaching, persuading. And that's what you want to do is the other jobs. So 2 days later, I don't believe in coincidences. 2 days later, I ran into an old buddy from high school, and we get to talking, and I buy some life insurance from him. So he invites me to come in and talk to them. So I end up getting in the life insurance business. And the problem I had there is they didn't want you to do anything but life insurance. I couldn't do any investments, couldn't do annuities. And as I learned more about those, I wanted to do it. So I ended up leaving, going to another company. And long story short, I ended up with Guardian. I've been with Guardian 34 years now. And I took the retired agents contract in 2019. But I haven't fully retired. I'm semi-retired. Um, you want me to get into my background regarding the health issues or come back to that?
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Okay. Um, 2008, I had open heart surgery, triple bypass to be exact. Fast forward to 2021, unfortunately, I had my right leg amputated above the knee because of blood clots. In 2019, I had aneurysms repaired in both femoral arteries, and one of the stents went bad in the right leg. So it was either lose a leg or lose my life. And when you watch that video, you'll learn more about that I'll resend to you. In July, 3 years ago, 2023, I was diagnosed with colon cancer. had already spread to my liver. And we found that during the routine colonoscopy. So all of you folks listening, do not miss getting a colonoscopy because if we had not discovered that, I'd probably be dead right now. Because she had told me, my oncologist, Dr. Karen Russell, said, um, without treatment, I probably had 6 months to live. With treatment, I think you've got 3 to 5 years. That was 3 years ago. So I went in last week for another PET scan results and also chemotherapy. I've had 52 chemotherapy sessions. And I'm just like that old commercial you see with the Energizer Bunny. I'm still going, man.
Not only are you still going, John, but you're doing it with a smile, with positivity, with enthusiasm, and with a hunger and drive to help and instill lessons to, you know, us younger folks in the financial industry. I think that's unbelievable of you, man. I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for that, Matt. I'll tell you, you inspired me to do something. So let me tell you what I have done since you and I talked last. That was week before last, right? Yeah. My good friend Steve Gordon, who helps people write books, he helped me go into Stripe to set up a system where people can order from me programs that I have put together in the past, at prospecting for gold, becoming known for what you know, commitment the key to success, and then the biggest one is a day of sales and marketing with John Curry, where that's all day face to face. And these are things that I love doing. And as you know, I do a training session every quarter for our agency with Guardian. And I love doing it because it's mostly with our newer associates. Some of the old guys will sneak in there and I'll say, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I don't want to miss anything you're teaching." So I still teach. I love doing it. Have a passion for it. I just don't want to get on airplanes that much. And now with the modern day abilities to use Zoom, it's a lot easier, you know. And you inspired me. So I called Steve. I said, "Can you help me do a link to each of these?" And so we've got that in place. So I just wanted to say, you encouraged me, you inspired me, and I thank you for that.
Oh, I appreciate that job. Well, let's get rolling, man. Our mission today is we want to help wholesalers, man. Wholesaling's a tough job. A ton of us are struggling. We're judged every single day, week and month based on our sales, our meeting count, all kinds of crazy metrics. Just to frame this up, we're going to be talking about initially why top advisors like John are hard to reach, why wholesalers struggle to stand out, and why adding value beats product every time, every day of the week. And John, my first question for you is for somebody like yourself, a successful advisor that's been in the business for 51 years, what actually makes you take a meeting with a wholesaler? I'm sure you have everybody in Florida reaching out to you. How do you decide if you're actually going to take a meeting with a wholesaler?
Well, the first thing is if they get me on the telephone, it's going to be how do they sound? Are they professional? Are they kind of pushy? Is it all about how great their product is and how great their company is? If it's more of the way I do it, "Hi, Matt, this is John Curry. I've heard good things about you from so and so. I would love to have a visit with you. Are you open to me coming to see you for 15 to 20 minutes or maybe having a conversation on the phone now?" So, but if I get somebody who's pushy with my assistant, almost like demanding an appointment, they'll never get in. That won't happen. And the biggest thing for me is I'm going to pick on our buddy Vinny for a minute. He tried to get me, he calls me the last man standing. I was the last person in our agency to work with him and have him help me back when he was at Lincoln. And when he wanted to take me to lunch, I said, "No, I'll have lunch brought in. You come to my office. That way you can meet my team. You see what I'm all about. You see my surroundings." And to that point, no one had ever done that. He was like, "Wait a minute, you're going to buy me lunch?" "Yes." "Yeah, here's where we order from. Tell me what you want." And the reason he got in is because every time he would come to the building, he would at least step in and say hello. But he was never pushy or arrogant about it. And then I realized one day, okay, I want to meet him face to face and talk. And our very first ticket was $500,000. And right away, I think it was either that week or the next week, once I was registered. But it's, number one, it's just showing that you bring value. You're not just there to talk about your product. We'll get into what that value is in a minute when you're ready. But That's the key to me. And I think most of us, we're all busy. Look, you don't have a spare 15 minutes. You shouldn't. You should be doing something productive, you know?
That's right. Yeah, I think you said two things that really caught my attention there. Number one is when you call, I've heard good things about you, right? Know the advisors that know you, right? Know the other, ask them for a good story about John. Hey, such
Yeah.
and such just told me this amazing story about you. Would be great to meet you, right? Would really, and then the other thing is consistency. I've covered the wirehouses for a long time as well, and sometimes you're meeting with an advisor and there's 20 other advisors. Just walking by their office and waving, saying hi, not even trying to
Yeah.
be too pushy, but just saying, hi, it's good to see you. Shoot them an email. Hey, I saw you in your office. It was just nice to see you today. Hope you had a great day. It's just, I think those two things go a long way.
Or just in the foyer or the reception area, just say hello, how you doing? I know you're busy. I just want to say hello. Things like that. Absolutely.
So what are, what's one thing in your opinion, John, that wholesalers think matters to advisors, but maybe really doesn't or isn't that important?
I think all the product details, and I know there's some people out there, they want to know every little tiny thing. I don't. I do a presentation where I talk about the good, the bad, and ugly of annuities. And I look at it this way. Let's start with the ugly. What's the surrender charge? Because you're going to slap me on the hand if I cancel it. So how bad is it? How bad of a slap am I getting? Are you slapping me or killing me? Okay. What's the bad? The bad is I got to pay a fee. Okay. You're going to pay fees no matter what you buy in life. You want to go see a movie, you got to buy a ticket. Or you can sneak in the back door and when somebody comes out. So what kind of person are you? Are you going to sneak in or are you going to pay the price for the ticket? And I tell clients this all the time. And I tell wholesalers this. I got to be honest, I haven't met with a wholesaler in a long, long time. With me being semi-retired and going through the cancer right now, I don't go in much, a day or two a week. So April does that. And I just kind of jump in as needed. But what's the good? The good is it would provide you an income that you can never outlive. If you live to be 200 years old, that check would come in consistently. Depending upon the type of annuity we use, you'll also be in the market and you'll have growth on that account, potential growth. I can't guarantee growth, but I can guarantee income. And I tell people this all the time. In my secure retirement method that I put together back in 1983, and then it evolved. But I talk about I can't promise you won't run out of money, but I can promise you you will not run out of income if you work with me. And people go, say that again. I promise you you will not run out of income. You might run out of money, but the program you do with me, there will always be a check coming in. That's your foundation. But I think I don't think I know. Wholesalers spend way too much time. I'm gonna call it bragging, and you should be proud of your company product, but bragging about the product. And in today's world, the product is not the most important. People can go online and buy life insurance, they can buy annuities. They don't need us. They don't need you as wholesalers. You see ads all the time for annuities on the TV set. So I think getting your head around the fact, okay, if I'm meeting with an advisor that I want in my herd, what do I do to help them get more business, save them time? If you can do either one of those, save me time or help me bring in business, then you've got me. And the more you can do that, it's like my relationship with Vinny. I have people all the time say, well, you should do this, you should do that. I said, I appreciate you very much, but I have a great relationship of where if I have a question, I can call. And if he does not know the answer, guess what? He will find the answer or he will tell me where to go get. So be somebody who brings value. Be someone who is a resource, not just show up when you're ready to promote your latest gadget. That's my advice.
Yeah, I love that. It's yeah, you know what it is? What's one of the problems, John, is you've got lots of wholesalers out there, younger wholesalers, and they're only trained on the product, right? So that when they go to meet with a financial advisor, guess what they're going to talk about?
The product.
Product.
So that's why our general agent, Chris Russell, has had me do these training sessions now. And I think this is the third year doing it quarterly. And I told him, I said, I'm not going to focus on the product. I'm not going to focus on our planning process called living balance sheet. They get overwhelmed with that. He said, I don't want you to do that. I want you to teach the good old fashioned, old school. Hi, I'm John Curry. You meet somebody. How do you meet them? How do you position it where when you go to a networking event, I know you walk out of there usually with people wanting to see you. How do you do that? Well, you don't go in and hand out your business card to 50 people and think you're networking. You know, I look at it from a standpoint of social mobility. Who am I in front of? I was at a function last Wednesday, had chemo. Then I'm something called Springtime Tallahassee, and our crew had a meet and greet at 5:30. So Susie, my lady, she and I went to an early dinner, late lunch at the same place, and then we joined the group. Well, a guy out of nowhere walked over and introduced himself because he saw my amputation. We get to talking about a friend of his who's running for Congress locally in our district. And the next thing you know, he sees I'm wearing a Rolex watch. We get to talking about watches and the guy, cigars and bourbon. And he said, I know your name. How do I know your name? I said, I don't know. I said, then he says, you're the retirement guy. I said, no, I am the secure retirement guy. And we're standing there in the bar in the hallway talking. And long story short, we've had a couple of conversations on the phone since then. And he said, I want you to be my advisor. I said, okay, let's don't commit to that. Let's have breakfast or lunch, preferably breakfast, and we'll determine if we're a good fit. If we are, we move forward. If not, we won't. And that's my style. I don't want anybody thinking I'm pushing you. If you want me, great. If you don't want me, that's okay too. Life goes on. There's 7 billion people on this planet. I don't need all of them, Matt. I just need a few.
My first ever national sales manager, and Vinny will know this, but he always said, a great phrase was some will, some won't, who cares, who's next, right?
Right. That's right. Yeah, the way I heard that was some will, some won't. So what? Who's next?
So who's next? That might have been what it was, John. I don't know. My memory's fading. But
Let me share something that I didn't think we'd get into. I'm going to share this real quickly. When you're having a tough day, I have a speech that I give. It's called, well, just two different titles for it. One's called Sweetheart, It's Just Your Leg. And then the subtitle is Dealing with Adversity, a formula for dealing with adversity. And I have given this speech several times locally at Rotary clubs, Kiwanis clubs, business groups, and also on stage at the Guardians Leaders Club 2 years ago, May 24. And I teach this. When you are frustrated with somebody, just put your hand on the shoulder like you're brushing off dandruff. Do it with me, Matt. Put your hand on the shoulder, do it. And I teach people, look, when you get to the point of where something's frustrating you, deep breath and just brush it off. And don't let them get to you. And I teach that, and I have to practice it myself. I got very frustrated the other day with a piece of equipment at the office, and I was ready to throw it in the trash can. I had to do this and calm myself down. But we're going to have adversity. I promise you, having an amputation 5.5 years ago and learning how to use a prosthesis and having cancer, sure as hell were not on my daily to-do list. So I've had to modify my life big time, getting both houses remodeled to accommodate my wheelchair. Because when that leg comes off, guess what? I'm in a wheelchair. I'm in a wheelchair right now while we're talking. When we get done, I'll go in and put my prosthesis on. I got some stuff down at the lake I need to get done. Have a little cabana down there. But I say just guys, just create value and learn some of the stuff that I and other people like me teach so that when you sit down in front of someone, you're giving them an idea. And they say, oh, holy cow, I can use that. It's like the good, the bad, and the ugly of annuities. Take it and use it. Use it. Build your story around it. And I always tell them the bad stuff. I'll tell a client right front, let me tell you the ugly. And if you can't live with that, we don't need to do it. And
yeah,
every
that's a
time they
that's a
go,
good that's a good that's a good way to build trust is, if you lead with the ugly, then they're going to understand that you're coming at it um, from a good place. And then when you tell them about the good, they're much more likely to buy into the good because they already understand. If you just tell somebody, hey, this is great, 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 awesome, 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 good, 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 in their head they're thinking, well, what's the catch, right? This is what's the negative. But if you lead with the here's the ugly, then they actually believe you when you tell them what the good is.
I'm the kind of person, if any of the people listening in your group were to come sit with me or get me on telephone and they started, I'd say, hang on a minute, time out. I get it that you got a great product. Now tell me the bad. Tell me the ugly. And if you don't mind, give me the ugly up front and get it out of the way. And people, consumers won't do that. What will they do? They will sit there and stew. They won't tell you the whole story. They won't tell you I'm confused because they don't want to look foolish. But if you'll take the time and learn how to tell your story in a way, wholesaler, I mean, we reps are the same way. There's not a person in my business out there that wants to tell you I don't understand the product. They don't want to do it because the ego. I got over that. I just said one day, you the hell with it. I don't know the product that well. I know how to sell the product. Your job is to help me explain the more finer points. And back to something said about trust. If you think this through, I call it LRT, like, respect, and trust. You are not going to do business with someone if you have the option. Now, if you have cancer or they're about to cut your leg off, you don't really give a damn if you respect or trust. Well, you hope you can trust a doctor. It is good. But you're going to do business with people you like, respect, trust, or think you can trust. And I tell people up front, when I have breakfast, here's what I say. Look, I hope, here's my agenda. I hope that at the end of our meeting, we determine that we each other like each other, respect each other, and think we can trust each other. If so, we'll move forward. If not, we won't. Can we agree on that, Matt? Everybody
Absolutely.
says yes. So we get done. I say, okay, back to like, respect, and trust. I like you. I'd like to get to know you better. I respect what you've accomplished from what I've heard, and I think you're trustworthy. How do you feel about me? I feel the same way. Would you like to meet again? I would love to meet again. Perfect. And then you schedule the appointment. If not, why am I going to spend 4 or 5 meetings with you trying to convince you to do something if you're not ready? I don't want to do it.
We fall into that trap. And let me I work with wholesalers that sell annuities, mutual funds, 401ks, structured notes, ETFs. I mean, the whole gamut. But for the purpose of this conversation, we'll bring up my good buddy Vinny, who's one of the greatest annuity wholesalers in the industry, one of the best that I've ever seen for sure. But is there anything specifically that Vinny's done for you, your team, either from a relationship standpoint, helping your clients from an educational standpoint, just so we can get some real life concrete examples? What has Vinny done for you, your team, your clients, so on and so forth?
Well, I could give you several. I'll give you a personal one. When I was in a rehab hospital, he called to check on me regularly. This was back during COVID, so you couldn't just come visit whenever you wanted to. But he brought me a basket of goodies. Yeah, I still use the wicker basket as a laundry hamper. And he called, checked on me, came to visit when he could outside the sitting area. Um, Ideas, not just coming with a product. You got a client, let's say 70 years old, and they want income, they also want growth. How do you how do you create a product for them? Which product is best? And I will just tell you, when my leg was amputated, he was one of the most caring people out there, called and checked on me more than many of my own associates did. And we developed a very, very strong relationship even before that, but that really took it to another level. If you care, let it be known you care. In
Yeah,
little
it's
simple things. It's just a quick phone call or a text. Hey, buddy, how you doing? Thinking about you. It doesn't have to be, and if you don't want a long, drawn out conversation, just send a text. A good friend of mine passed away 3 weeks ago, and I went to see him twice at the hospital and twice at the rehab. And he had his right leg amputated above the knee, like me. His was because of some flesh-eating bacteria that he got in his little pond at the back of his house. But I'd send him a text occasionally, and our mutual friend of ours stood up at a big business group, 75 of us in the room, and I had been asked to give a 10-minute speech. And he stood up and he said, I don't have a question. I have a comment. And he said, John and I have a mutual friend. His name's John also. And his leg was amputated. And the doctor told him, don't even bother about getting checked for a prosthesis at your age. And he's 80. And John, so the doctor gave him no hope. John Curry gave him a lot of hope. And he had gone and was, fitted for a prosthesis. Sadly, he didn't get to use it because he died. But if you care, you got to let people know you care. And we're all busy. And occasionally I'll find myself thinking about calling somebody or texting and I forget it. But I would say Vinny does a good job of following up, checking in without being pushy, without the pushiness. Now, has he been pushy at times? Yeah, there's a couple of times I just said, we're not doing that, Vinny. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But there's a lot of business there. Yeah, we're not doing that. When it's ready, I'll let you know. And we did a huge account. It was, I say huge by our standards. It was over $3 million on one, and then I think it was 2 million next that the client did. But I told him, I said, if you be patient, we'll get it all. But we're not going in there and doing what you're saying right now. We'll get there. And I'm a pretty good judge of people. I'll rephrase that. I'm a damn good judge of people and when to push and when to back off. I'm the kind of guy, I can ruffle your feathers. You get mad as hell at me, and I can smooth them back out and give me a hug and a kiss. And that's the technique you need to learn. How do you push the envelope to the edge, but yet you don't ruin the relationship?
Yeah, it's one thing you said too, which just makes me laugh is, every year you have the big annual conference, the wholesaler conference, right? And they have the top guys come on stage and they say, "Hey, give us your product pitch," right? So me or Vinny will go up on stage and we'll do the product pitch. But at the end of the day, everybody knows the product pitch, John. What they're not saying on stage is that Vinny came in and checked on you at the hospital, more than any. That's really what moves the needle to me. It's not the who's mastered the product pitch the most. It's sometimes it could be as simple as who cares the most, right? Who cares about John? Who cares about your clients? Who cares about your team? Who cares about your family? And that's never talked about on stage at these conferences for some reason. It's just how can you pitch your product better?
Well, what's happened, Matt, we see it too. It's all about product, uh, promoting yourself. And I get that. I'm one of the biggest marketing and promoters in the business. I'm not so much now, but that's not true. I still do. I have two newsletters here from Dan Kennedy. It's No BS Magnetic Marketing Newsletter. You're familiar with it.
Yeah.
I read one of them, and one of them was about a funeral director. So I had my lady Susie read it. She's a funeral director, part owner of a funeral home. She said, John, this is great stuff. She said, I see now why you read and study so much. I said, I'm going to do that until you bury me. I will never stop reading and studying about marketing. Now, do I do as much as I did in the past? No. But when I walk into a room, I am constantly asking myself, who in here would I like to work with? And I would say from if I were a wholesaler, you just dubbed me wholesaler right now, I would do the same thing. I would say, okay, with Guardian or this company, that company, who are the people in there? I would get to know, I would get me a list of all the advisors in there. And I'd have somebody help me determine a little bit about each one of them to save some time. And then I would start handpicking the ones I wanted to go see. And I'd make sure that I were visible. I'd bring donuts occasionally, just leave them. Who left the donuts? John Curry did. Well, that was nice. Well, he didn't come try to see me. No, he just brought the donuts in and said, good morning, just, you know, leave my card there. I would do all kind of little things that most people, I'm not doing that. That's a waste of my time and money. Okay. It's not a waste of your time and money. It's the little things that count.
So let me ask you this because I think referrals and introductions are so important. For financial advisors, it's typically the number one way that they attract clients is through the referral and the introduction. I think wholesalers always forget. It's rare that wholesalers ask for a referral and introduction. So for you, two-part question. Number one, what's been the best way for you to get referrals and introductions from your clients over the years? And If you were a wholesaler, how would you go about getting referrals and introductions to other financial advisors?
I think that's a great question. I'm glad you asked that one because most people don't think about this. Most of my business has not come from referrals. Mine has come primarily from personal observation. And let me walk you through the difference. Let's suppose I'm sitting with you and you give me the names of 10 friends and their spouses and a little bit of information. Unless you're willing to speak out for me to them, all I have are names. When I call, it's still going to be a cold call to them. And even if you tell them, hey, my friend John Curry is going to call you, oh, he's going to try to sell me something. So no matter what you say or do, it's still more of an adversarial or they're afraid of me. Make sense?
Yep.
But if I meet you somewhere, when I used to go to Chamber of Commerce meetings, I would get a copy of the attendees. I would always ask for it, and I always got it. And I would take a look at who was coming. And I'd make sure in that room before I left that event that I walked over and shook hands and hopefully had a conversation for just a few minutes with each of those people. And I teach a concept called form, where you have a conversation, family, occupation, recreation, and meeting or money. And it helps me because I can get on the stage. The largest that I spoke at was 2,500 people. But you throw me in a room, I have what psychologists call situational shyness. I'm shy. But if I can get there early and there's only a few people now, I'm kind of like the greeter, Matt. I see you come in, I see your name tag, I say, hey Matt, I'm John Curry, and yeah, good to see you. Then I don't have it as badly. But for me over the years, do I get referrals? Yep, still do. And I plant the seed this way. And I'll ask the question, Matt, have you been happy with your experience working with us? Oh, absolutely. I love it. I let them go. And I don't interrupt them. If it takes them 10 minutes to brag about us, because the more they say thank you and brag, you have an opportunity. They are reselling themselves, number one. Number two, it's going to be very hard if they've been that happy not to introduce you, not refer you, introduce you to family members and friends. So that's the way I do it. I want you to tell me that you've been happy with the experience, love what's happened, love the team. And I'm so, can you think of any reason why we shouldn't share the same program with family members, especially your kids and your in-laws, et cetera?
Yeah, I
And
love the
sometimes
concept.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna tell them something. Let me see what I did one time. I went back and I looked. In one year, I'd gotten over 600 referrals. And then I got to looking at our database. We had so many names of people that we'd never met with, because then I said, I don't want a bunch of names. I want maybe three, maybe five from you at a time. And then I want to work those. And it's like when I would do seminars, I used to do a seminar about every other month. I would do a seminar on the secure retirement method or Social Security, whatever. And I started doing seminars back in 1981 when it wasn't all that popular. And the first one was a disaster. And I was using a marker on the flip chart, writing it out. Didn't have computers back like we do today. And they didn't have projectors. They weren't around when I started doing that stuff. Anyway, that's my answer to the referrals. And if I were a wholesaler, you're in the person's office, so find out if you can who the other associates are. It's pretty easy. You just ask for a list or sit down with someone and say, who are the other associates here? And they'll tell you. They'll tell you. And then if you were in my place, Matt, who would you call first if you were in my role? Well, I'd call John Curry. He's doing more annuity business than anybody. He's led the company a couple of times. You ought to check with him because he knows the products and does a lot of business. Yeah, next will be so and so, right down the line.
Yeah, I think just having a system in place to ask, right? On your agenda, ask, hey, John, who are some of your best friends in the business, right? Are you part of any study groups? Hey, here's the 20 advice. This is one from Bill Cates, who's the referral coach, but
Right.
here's the 20 advisors in the office. This is a humor angle, but hey, out of these 20 people, who are the five that I should absolutely avoid at all costs, right? Just to bring a little bit of humor into the conversation rather than make it very serious, right?
I like Bill's material. I've had the pleasure of being two different workshops with him and also reading his material. It's really good stuff. Uh, yeah, there are so many ways of getting names. I like to do what's called reverse prospecting, where I'll sit down with a list of, say, 10 people. Yeah, Matt, there are 10 people I think you might know. I know all those people. Is there anyone on here that you would be uncomfortable if I mention your name when I call them? Now, notice I didn't ask your permission to call them. I don't need your permission to call them. Free enterprise system, I can call anybody I want. You may object to me using your name, but I can call anyone I want. But most of the time, the person will say, well, here, let me tell you a little bit about them. I've had people take the sheet of paper out of my hand and start writing notes down beside the person's name. And I always make sure it was triple space so there's plenty of room.
Yeah.
But I've done, you name it, I've probably done it. I'm an old dinosaur. I've been doing this since 1975. But most of my prospecting was, again, face to face, personal observation. Did I meet somewhere? And it still is. And I guarantee you, I know tonight I'm having dinner with a friend who's an attorney. We get together about every couple of months. We go to Ted's Montana Grill, and we'll have a couple of bourbons and we'll eat. I, I'll, he'll probably mention at least two, three people this evening that I'll end up following up with. And when I follow up, it's real simple. Hey, Matt, John Curry here. Do you know a knucklehead by the name of Chef Wright? Yeah, I know Chef very well. Well, he suggested I give you a call. And here's what I do. Just tell you right up front, here's what I do. Would you be open to have an introductory meeting with me and find out what we do and how we do it? No cost, no obligation. If we like each other, we'll move forward. If not, we won't. It's kind of hard to say no to that.
That's that's a master class right there in communication. I'm going to yeah, I'm glad we have this recorded, John. That was amazing.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I
You know,
have to tell you that I love the teaching that I do quarterly because what it does, it forces me to go back and think through when somebody asks a question on the spot. I think back and sometimes they'll say, John, how would you handle this? I said, I don't know. I wasn't there. I wasn't in the heat of the battle. It's easy for me to tell you now outside looking in, but I'm not sure. But based on what I've heard, here's what I think I would have done.
well, I think this is a good time to mention too that we have, we got about 200 wholesalers in our inner circle, and a lot of them do digital events, digital interviews for their advisors on how advisors can improve their life, whether it's through more ideal clients, better systems and processes, using words and phrase that connect with high net worth clients, getting more referrals and introductions, connecting with COIs. Um, and John, I'd love to add you to that list of speakers that can bring value to their territory. I know we touched on this briefly, but you've done advisor training in the past. What have you what kind of topics have you done in the past to help train financial advisors with all of your experience?
Oh my God. Everything from uh, what I call proper time management and the titles becoming known for what you know. It's great that you know it, but if nobody knows you know it, it doesn't matter if you know it. Think that through for a minute. You could be the smartest person about annuities or mutual funds or which stocks to buy, but if no one knows that you know it, what good is the knowledge? How do you apply it? How do you find a way to get people to recognize you as being the go-to person? So what I really love teaching, and I do more of it, is the what I call the sales and marketing side, but time management. I see so many people in our office even now. They're spending the most precious time of the day instead of in front of someone doing paperwork or reading. Do your reading and studying at night. I'm a chartered life underwriter, CLU, CHFC, chartered financial consultant, have a master's degree in financial services, AEP, accredited estate planner, long-term care certification. And all of that I did in the evenings. When I when my son was a youngster, little guy, um, I would, after he went to bed, I'd be up reading and studying, or I'd do it early in the morning. So, what to read, what to study. Sometimes we spend time reading and studying things that is worthless to us. So my mind has always been, what am I trying to accomplish? And I go back to what Stephen Covey always said, begin with the end in mind. What is it I'm trying to accomplish? And then look for stuff that will help me get there. But time management, sales and marketing, basic sales skills. One of the most popular I did just popped in my head, remember, 1996, we were in Hawaii for a Guardian President's Council meeting. And one of the guys came to me that's running the program. He said, Don, I have a problem. Our speaker is not going to be here this afternoon. Would you mind doing a session for us on answering objections? He said, I know you're good at that. And I said, well, yes, of course. So here I am in this U-shaped arrangement of tables with the tippy top of Guardian, the top producers, 35, maybe 40 people in the room. And I had that on a VHS video. Wish I still had that. Wish I had an audio recording of it. I'm standing there the whole time for an hour taking objections from the top people in the company. And it was fun. Made me think on my feet, made me stronger. Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I get peppered with wholesalers all the time. Matt, how would you handle the situation? And that's what really helps you grow, right? You have to think through these situations. One thing we see all the time, by the way, wholesalers, if you're watching this video, do yourself a favor, reach out with John, hire John to speak to your territory. Every advisor in your territory is going to want to learn from somebody that's a top advisor, somebody that's been in the business for 51 years. John would love to speak with your territory, correct, John? Obviously, there's.
And let me say this, because of, again, you've inspired me with this. By doing it by Zoom, I don't have to get on airplanes. If I fly to somebody's office to do it and do a day of sales and training, the fee is $10,000 plus the expenses. By doing it by Zoom, I only charge $2,500. And I haven't done a whole lot of those lately. I've done a few. I do the training every quarter via Zoom for our team, but I would be open to doing that. And at some point, when you're doing this, you can provide my contact information. You can give them my cell phone number and my email.
Yeah.
And if somebody's interested, I'd be happy to do whatever we can. And you just made a comment that I'm going to go back to. You said they pepper you with questions. Now, see, that means that you're bringing value. So they see you as being valuable in the sense that I'm going to ask Matt about this. And that's the point I'm trying to make about bringing so much value that if somebody comes in with a product that's close, they say, no, thank you. I have this relationship with Matt. And I've had wholesalers get angry with me because I'd say, look, Vinny is my go-to guy. Now, if there's a need for a product different than what he provides, absolutely, I got to take care of my client. But if it's similar, no, I'm doing it. And that's what you want to teach advisors to where they say, wow, you're bringing so much value to me. I'll just a little self-promotion here. If I do a presentation for your advisors and they go out and they make one sale, let's say it's only, heck, let's just say it's only $100,000 sale. That's going to increase your business. It's going to increase their business. And now they're going to say, whoa, I got value out of that. And then the one who goes out and pops $1 million, $2 million, $5 million, and you're like, whoa, thank you, Matt. I just got a lot of commission for myself, helped my client. Everybody wins. And I'm going to say this. I firmly believe in the win, win, win. If it's not a win for everybody involved, you need to walk away. I'm a Rotarian, and we follow the four-way test. And it's real simple. If it's not right for everybody involved, if it's not the truth, walk away. Don't do it. It'll bite you in the butt. It'll bite you in the butt if you go out and you say something that's not right just to get a client or just to make a commission.
Wow.
But one other thing too, Matt, something we have not talked about. Sometimes I'll have GAs sit with me or by phone say, John, here is where I'm having trouble with our associates. And we will custom build a presentation around that. I had the honor of doing that in Fort Myers. Well, it was on the way down to Marco Island to do the Leaders Club speech. And we spent 5 hours. And we custom tailored it to what their associates are having trouble with. Some was on life insurance, not necessarily the specifics of the product, but how do you get someone to want to buy life insurance? That's a tough sell. Why should I buy life insurance? It's not going to benefit me, it's going to benefit someone else. And we covered that. We covered annuities. We talked about why would you buy individual stocks? And I don't have a lot of, it's not true. I have a lot of money in stocks, but I don't have like hundreds of stocks. I have mutual funds, ETFs, but I also have not mutual funds, I have ETFs, but I also have my individual stocks just because I want to own those companies. But my favorite, I tell people, are my annuities. I have 4 annuities that are paying me income right now. You know, every month that money pops up like a mushroom. you
Did
know,
did you ever hear that song, Mailbox Money from Jimmy Buffett? Mailbox
yes,
money makes me feel
yeah,
so.
yeah,
That's what
yeah. I've heard
that's
that.
what I think about when I think of annuities, man, is Jimmy Buffett getting that check in his royalty. It's like a royalty check in the mail every single month
Right.
that keeps
That's
on
right.
coming.
That's right. And you know the thing that if I could turn the clock back, because one of the things that I can bring value for you advisors is talk about the mistakes I've made. And you don't hear very many people want to do that. They just want to tell you how great they are. Well, I screwed up in the sense that I didn't use products with trails until later in life. And I wish I had had those available when I first started. They weren't available. There were no trails when I first started. It was all up front. And it's a hard transition to get some people to go from more upfront to less upfront to get trails. But if you're building a long-term business, and I'm very grateful for the trails I have, they're high. If you compare them to the average person in our business, they're real high. But if you compare it to people who have been doing it for many more years than then mine's lacking. But another thing I like to preach is money management because most advisors don't manage their money very well. I've made a lot of mistakes. And today, I own 2 homes. I have no debt. I don't owe a dime to anybody. All I have are living expenses, and that's it. And I've always maintained a cash flow that would support my lifestyle without getting too much in debt. What else is
It's
on your
hard
list?
because I think what a lot of wholesalers don't realize is uh because we don't have any overhead, John. So it's like, the company gives you the budget, right? Everything you make is pure net. But as an advisor, at least the advisors that I know, you might have an office, you might have your team, you have your grid, you have your technology fees. Like the your top line is before all of the expenses that go into your business, your marketing, your staff, your team. And I think just as a wholesaler, having empathy for advisors, right? Because you have a lot going on in your world. You have, it's not just, hey, I brought in this much revenue this year. You've got all kinds of expenses on top of that. So I think what you're saying is right on point is, make sure you're saving because we're all going through a difficult time saving because everything's so expensive, right? Even financial advisors who build these plans, it's still difficult to save and accumulate for retirement, which is
That's true, but the biggest problem is advisors don't plan properly for income tax. At one time, I'll just share because I said I'd give the good, the bad, and the ugly. At one time, I owed the IRS $300,000. And I just called them up, went to their office, sat down. I said, let's work out a payment plan and get this done. And I took care of it ASAP. And what happens is we come into a world from a world rather, where you have taxes withheld and now you're self-employed. And one of the things I love to cover with advisors when we get right down to the nitty gritty is, are you a business owner or a salesperson? And, Dan Kennedy talks about have an entrepreneurial, Dan Sullivan, excuse me, entrepreneurial attitude. that I'm not a financial advisor. I happen to be an entrepreneur who provides financial advising advice or service. And when you grasp that and understand the difference, you will do things differently. You'll make investments that will help you free up your time and your energy to do more. I remember clearly in 1982, I hired my first full-time assistant. I'd been using part-time. And then a month later, I hired another person part-time. And my journal agent time said, you don't need two people. Why are you doing that? You don't even need one. We have agency staff. I said, yeah, but they can't take care of my needs. This is an investment. This is not an expense. And I freed up time. And I didn't go play golf that time. I could have. I saw more people. At one time, believe it or not, this was my schedule. I'd have a 7:30 breakfast. I'd have a 9:30 appointment. Yeah, 9:30, 7:30. I'm sorry, 7:30, 9, 10:30, 12, 2, 3, 5, or 5:30. That's 7 appointments a day, Monday through Thursday. I do very little on Friday. I might have 2 or 3 appointments. I did that for years, years. And then one day I said, this is too much, way too much. And I was sitting in a swing with my grandson, who was 2 at the time, after my open heart surgery. And I'm sitting there realizing I'm getting up every day, going to see people that are total strangers to help them with their planning, and I'm neglecting my family. I'm not spending time with my own family. So I changed it. So then I went to 10, 12, 2, and 4. My income did not go down. My income doubled the first year I did that. Doubled because it made me think about who I'm seeing. And then I would joint venture with other agents and say, hey, I've got these people over here. Would you like to work with them? So yeah, are you a business owner or are you a salesperson? And you're right, as wholesalers, you don't have a lot of expenses, but I would encourage you to take the same mindset. Yeah, am I a business owner or am I just selling advisors on, to use my product? What other questions you got on that list? I know you got a list.
Well, we got 5 minutes, John. So, the last thing I'll end with is, the book I'm reading right now is called Extreme Hospitality. Unreasonable Hospitality. So essentially how to serve your top clients so unreasonably that they, know you, love you, trust you, want to work with you, do business with you, and refer you. And, we mentioned the Vinny story of him visiting you, but do you have any example or two on how you've provided unreasonable hospitality or just phenomenal service to your clients over the last 51 years? Any specific anecdotes stick out there?
I'll tell you one that was really popular. I had a lady come in and we did the disc profile for all of the couples, and they loved it because she was able to, as an outside expert, share with them about how to improve communication. That was very popular. One of my uh, most well attended, we had over 100 people attended on 2 different occasions. I had Benjamin Franklin come in and do a presentation. So there's a local guy who dresses up as Ben Franklin, and the whole time he walks in the building, he is in character as Ben Franklin, taking questions. That was fun. But just letting people know you care.
I
Let them know
love
you
that.
care.
Well, we're at the top of the hour, John, and
It
really
went
enjoyed the
fast.
conversation. It's crazy how fast I was watching the clock. I was like, God, I don't want the hour to end. But
Well, I've
maybe
enjoyed this, Matt, and I thank you for the opportunity to share. And folks, whoever's listening to this, I wish you much success. And I'll say this: just remember, there's going to be days when things are tough. Just remember, put your hand on the shoulder, brush it off like dandruff, take a deep breath, and regroup. And I'm in a Bible study with some guys on Fridays via Zoom. I was invited to join it back in February. I knew them all, but I was invited to join. It's one of the best things I've ever done, and I'm the weakest link in the chain. I said, guys, I don't know the Bible as well as you do, but here's what I do know. I do know that here's my motto, and they love me when I shared it with them. Let it, God, let it be your way. Teach me how to get out of the way. Because there's some things I can't control. But before we go, remind me who wrote the book Unreasonable Hospitality. I know the book, but I can't remember the author. Do you recall?
uh, Will Guidara, Guidara. So he was the 3-star Michelin restaurant in New York City. He was the
Yeah.
manager.
Yep.
Uh,
I remember. I remember now. I remember. Let me
so
say
like
one
if
more thing. Since you brought up books, and then we can get off here. I read a lot. I probably read on average 2 books a month. And most of the books I read are either business related or they're biographies or autobiographies. I've been doing that for years. And there's so much power you can get from learning. I would encourage people to read the book called Elon by Walter Isaacson. It's a long read. It's not 1,000 pages probably, but it's a long book. But you'll read so much about how to do things that are unusual, be different. And one of my mentors, Dan Kennedy, says, find out what other people are doing and do the opposite. Do the opposite. How do you
I
show
love
up?
Dave
That's another
Kennedy.
thing. The sales side, how do you show up? You don't show up with a big binder or a big portfolio. You show up with a piece of paper folded up in your pocket, your jacket pocket, and a pen. And then when it's appropriate, you take it out and take notes. You're different. Anyway, guys, I hope this has been beneficial. And if I can ever help you and do a workshop, I would be honored to do it.
Yeah, if you're a wholesaler listening to this call on the Inner Circle platform, we'll have John's email, his cell phone. Reach out to John for sure. But outside of that, John, you're in our thoughts and prayers every single day from me and Christina from the Ferdinando family. We sincerely appreciate all of the time, the knowledge that you've shared with us today. And just thank you. A warm thank you from the bottom of my heart, man. It was great to have a conversation with you. So thanks
Well,
again.
thank you, man. It was a pleasure. And I look forward to us visiting more. And I'm gonna give you what I tell clients, prospective clients. I like you, I respect you, I trust you. So I'm gonna do everything in my power to nurture this relationship.
All right. Likewise, John.
All right,
Back
buddy.
at you. All right.
Thank
Enjoy the
you.
day. See you,
Have a
John.
great day.